Okay. I want to share something that's really present for me right now. And I'm hoping it's something that will provide a lot of value. Okay. Healing is really fucking important. And I know maybe that sounds obvious, but I really think that there's too many people walking around avoiding what they're feeling, avoiding what they're thinking, avoiding what their real thoughts are, avoiding what's happening internally, avoiding what's happening externally, saying that's too much for me, I can't handle that, I'm out, let me go watch TV, let me get drinks with my friends on the weekend, let me binge on whatever food, let me go to the mall, let me scroll social media. I get it. As someone who has always been an overachiever, an overworker, and someone who has been it's been very easy for me to say things like, I don't have time for that right now, or I will deal with that later. I will deal with that later. I don't have time for that right now. I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do whatever. And I'm very good at working through things. And I don't mean like working through things emotionally. I am now, but I wasn't then. But working through, pushing through, and not addressing what's happening underneath. The moment something would come up and I would feel it, I wouldn't let myself go there. And I would move on to the next task. And I would move into that task and focus on that, hyper focus on it. And I would let that feeling escape me. But the problem is, it doesn't just escape, it doesn't leave you, it goes down into you. It comes into you and it stays there, it gets buried deep. And the more you do that, the more you bottle up, the worse it becomes. The more reactive you become. The more you have those moments that trigger you and it becomes so overwhelming. And you do not know in that moment exactly where it came from, but you will blame whatever's in front of you, but it is not what's in front of you. I wish I could just be this happy-go-lucky, positive light all the time. And I would say for the most part, I am that person. Like, I have that energy about me. But there's this voice inside my head, and it prevents me from sharing the real shit, like the real shit, because what I'm perceiving is a society that doesn't want to hear it. What I'm perceiving is a society that's like positive vibes only. If it's negative, I don't want to hear it. Negative. If it doesn't make me feel good, I'm going to scroll by it. And it sort of paints this picture of a society of people that don't have these problems. And so when I'm like deep in my stuff and I'm working through it, I'm like, oh, I want to share this process. I want to share this process with people. In my head, I feel like I'm fucking alone. I know it's not true, but that's just what it feels like. And so what I really want to bring to the table is how important it is to do the fucking work and to be real with yourself and to stop lying to yourself and stop lying to other people. You don't have to share your whole world with other people. You know, there's so much that I don't share that is mine. It's inherently mine. I share a lot, but there's some things that will stay with me. But true expression, true authenticity and being is all of it. It's every part. It's the parts that you hate about yourself. It is the parts that you don't want to say. It is the parts that you have shame around. It is the parts that you never got to say as a child. It is all of these parts. And they deserve a voice. And they deserve to be seen. And if you don't give them a voice, they will take it at some point. Or they will take yours. So I just got through releasing some pretty big stuff. And it involved me hitting pillows and screaming and crying and talking to myself in the mirror and doing these beautiful practices that allow me to connect deeper to myself and these pieces that have been holding me back. And it's not pretty. It's not aesthetic. It is not perfect. And it's not always fun. But it's so relieving and healing and nurturing and delicious. Go there. If you haven't been there yet, go there. Don't be afraid. You're not the only one. We all experience this stuff. We all have things that we're working through. We all have blocks. You're human. And it's easy to distract ourselves from doing all those things, but it's really important. So I wanted to put this here in case you're like, I feel like a fucking mess. Because sometimes I feel like I'm a fucking mess when I'm doing this stuff. I'm like, girl, you got so much stuff you're working through. Yeah, I do. And I am, and I have been, and it's beautiful, and it has allowed me to live this super expansive life and do things I never thought I'd be able to do. And people ask me all the time, like, how are you so happy? How did you just move across the world? Not across the world, across country. How did you, how are you always on these adventures? How are you always choosing yourself? The more you get to know yourself, the less you can lie to yourself, because you feel it so deeply inside you when you do that. Once you go there, there's no going back. So if you have any questions, reach out. Let's do this shit.